Hello and welcome to Biblical Panorama, a program where we strive to give a biblical perspective on the issues of the Bible and also the questions that you may have. Please, would like to encourage you to subscribe to our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel, Biblical Panorama. Remember also to share the broadcast so that others could also benefit from the sharing. Thank you so much to those who have already subscribed, and I believe that you are going to share with others so that they may equally subscribe. Today, our question for consideration was sent through by one of our followers. What is the mark of Cain in Genesis chapter 4, verse 15? I put up the text here on the screen and read it together with you. Then the Lord said to him, that's to Cain, not so. If anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest any who found him should attack him. And so we are going to explore the phrase a mark on Cain. This is one of those, should I say, controversial texts that we have in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament. Many people have understood this mark of Cain differently. There are others who have suggested that it must have been some kind of a tattoo that was placed on his body, perhaps on his forehead, on his arm. If you look at some images, you will see that there is a mark that is put on an arm of a person. Others have said that this must have been something that had to do with his hairstyle because it had to be visible so that everyone who sees him knows that this guy is not for killing. Others have suggested that there should have been some mark or sign on his forehead. Looking at Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4, where you have some independence in Jerusalem, some innocents in Jerusalem who the Bible records that had some marks placed on their foreheads. So that's what others say. And interestingly, I found that there is in the Hebrew tradition even a belief that this might have been a guardian dog that was assigned to Cain that would protect him as he goes about in his wanderings to the eastern side, to the city of Nod, where he had been kind of banished to. So there was a dog that was accompanying Cain as he was going about his wanderings, as he fled from the presence of the Lord. And this dog is the one that gave him that protection from any adversaries who might have sought to do any harm on him. And so that's what uh, others think. But what is the mark or the sign in Hebrew? And so the Hebrew word ot, which is translated as mark or sign, actually appears in several other passages. But I picked out one passage for our discussion, and that is the one in Exodus chapter 4, verse 8. But before I get to that, just to mention that the Hebrew word ought could be translated as mark or sign. And in this case, it's not really known what this mark or sign was. The Bible does not really tell us what this sign or mark was in Genesis chapter 4, verse 15. This is what has led others to conclude that this might have been some supernatural phenomena or some miracle that might have been manifested in the life of Cain by the Lord to give him that assurance that nothing would happen to him. Because you remember, this is the second dialogue that Cain is having with the Lord in Genesis chapter 4. And he is complaining about the punishment, saying that the punishment you have given me is too great. And so, as one of my friends says, Cain was negotiating with the Lord, and the Lord was merciful to him. He reduced the punishment, and when Cain asked for some kind of assurance, the Lord said that he would set a mark on him in order to protect him from his adversaries. But as I have said, the Bible really doesn't tell us what kind of a mark uh, this was. Now, if you compare with another passage in Exodus chapter 4, verse 8, where the same Hebrew word is used, the Bible here says, if they will not believe you, this is another conversation between God and Moses, talking to him before he went out to Pharaoh. Moses was saying, what guarantee do I have that Pharaoh shall let the children of Israel go? So the Lord in that conversation says to him, and he says, if they will not believe you, God said, or listen to the first sign, they may believe the latter sign. So the word that is used for sign here is the same as the one that is used for sign in Genesis chapter 4, verse 15. And so this gives us an idea that as we know the signs that took place with Moses and Moses before Pharaoh, it wasn't anything to do with a mark on his body or a sign on his body, but these were miracles or supernatural signs that the Lord was performing before Pharaoh so that Pharaoh could let the children of Israel go. And so that's one way of looking at this. Now, I should also mention that when we look at Genesis chapter 4, verse 15, one of the things that really confuses the people is a preposition, an inseparable preposition, lamed, which is attached to the noun Cain, where the Bible says, and the Lord put a mark on Cain. And so many people have concluded that this is something that was indeed put on Cain, something visible. But if you look at the usage of that preposition, you will see that the preposition lamed can also be translated as for instead of on only. And so, like in the New American Standard Bible version, you find that the Bible there, the text reads differently. In the New American Standard Version, it says that the Lord, um the Lord put a sign, and the Lord put um, a sign for Cain. Actually, let me just get it here so that we read it together. And it says, and the Lord appointed a sign for Cain, a sign for Cain, uh, not a sign on Cain. And so there you get another nuance of the Hebrew preposition. Instead of, as other translations would read, a sign on Cain, the New American Standard Bible chose another rendering, which is appointing a sign for Cain, giving us an idea that this could have been something that was performed for Cain in order to give him that assurance that the Lord would be with him and that no one would do any harm on him as he would, go about that assurance that needed. So, in terms of the actual sign, we may not put our finger on it and conclude that it was a tattoo or a hairstyle or a mark on his forehead or maybe some guardian dog. Uh, But what we can be sure about is the function. The function of the sign was to deter any person who would have sought to do any harm on Cain from going ahead with it. The Lord had given him a sign, and that sign could have been something that was supernatural to give him divine protection from any harm that might attend him. So I hope that you find this to be helpful as we give this particular perspective of the sign of Cain. Definitely, there is no evidence that it might have been a tattoo or a peculiar hairstyle or a mark on his forehead or a dog or whatever it is that was visible on him, on his body. But what we are sure of is that there was an indication that the Lord gave him pertaining to the sign that was with him, and that the Lord granted him divine protection as he was going to be wandering about. Uh, have a lovely evening, and may the Lord bless you even as you go about your